Hey everybody, my name is Jim Primer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film. Thanks for joining us today. This is our 34th year of presenting stories for, by, and about our community and its allies. This is, however, our first year as a virtual festival. We have a number of films in theater. We also have a number of films that are virtual. We have some great programming this year and some terrific Q&As. One of our favorite films this year is Potato Dreams of America. And I'm going to read a short description. Potato Dreams of America is an autobiographical dark comedy about a gay boy growing up in the Soviet Union, his mail order bride mother, and their adventurous escape to America. We have some special guests with us today, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Wes?
Hi, I'm Wes Hurley. I wrote and directed Potato Dreams of America, and it's 99.9 autobiographical film.
Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Hersh. I play young Potato in the first half of the film.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us. I adored this film. But Wes, I just, I wanted to just start with the fact that, as we were talking a little bit earlier, when you did your short film, Potato, I think it was 2017, 2018, we showed that, and obviously the film had an amazing festival. Can you just talk a little bit about the success of that and how it propelled you moving forward?
Yeah, it was an interesting journey because I wrote the screenplay for the narrative feature about 8-9 years ago. And, making a narrative feature is really challenging. So it took a while to get the resources to get it made. But in the middle of that process, I got a small grant and was able to make a short documentary. And that short documentary, Little Potato, did so well that we were able to leverage it for, to get the feature made, which I guess is sort of a thing that happens sometimes with films. You end up making a short film, and then if it's successful, it helps you get the feature made as well.
Sure. Did you always know that you wanted to make a feature?
Yeah. I started with a feature. I had no plans of actually making a doc. That just happened, again, because, making a feature was really challenging. We couldn't get all of the money together. And a small grant was sufficient to make a short doc. So I thought, well, if I make a short doc, maybe it will be sort of a promotional tool for the feature. And that worked out for us.
Sure. So when did you start filming the feature?
The feature, we started filming Hersh. Was it 29? So we basically finished the feature right before, like a week or two before COVID shut everything down. And then we started filming it. So it must have been 2019. The fall of 2019 is when we started filming it. We shot all of American things over like 3 weeks, all on locations in Seattle. And then in that winter, we shot Russian scenes on a soundstage in Seattle.
Did you, when COVID hit, did that delay the plans for your films in terms of getting it out there to festivals, or were you pretty much on track?
We were so lucky. We ended up being completely on track because, like I said, we finished shooting, late winter. Sure. So then I was able to edit everything during that spring. So then all of the big deadlines tend to be like toward the end of the summer, early fall. Okay. So the timing for that, the timing for post was kind of perfect for us. It was, and it gave me a little extra time to just concentrate on editing and not worry about anything else, because there's nothing else I could do.
Exactly. So Hersh, how did you come aboard?
Yeah, so I auditioned in, I think, 2018. I sent in a videotape of some sides that I found on backstage.com. This was my first feature I had ever really auditioned for, nice. Which is pretty crazy. So we were like, this would be cool if I just got to send something in and got my name out there or whatever. We were like, maybe I'll get a call back. We were not expecting to get the role, and I just feel so lucky that I got it, and I was able to help tell Wes's story. And so I had my in-person audition also in 2018. And then, as Wes said, we filmed early 2020, right before the pandemic.
Wow. So, just tell us, Hersh, a little bit about, your interpretation of young potato and all that the character is going through, because there's a lot that the character is going through.
Yeah, something that was really important for me to bring this character was the idea of repressed curiosity. There are all these things that Potato looks up to, like American cinema and America and exploration of sexuality. And I think that those things are forbidden because of all these forces that are stressing him out in his life, which cause him to kind of shut down a little bit. He's got Russia, he's got the army, he's got his grandma, so everything is just like turned up against him. And so I think that idea of like being repressed but still looking towards the future and having hope was really important for me.
Okay, Wes, I love the segment. Well, the segments when you're discovering American TV, and things. Obviously, that had a huge effect on the rest of your life, personally and professionally. But can you just talk a little bit about the advent of American TV and what that did for you?
Yeah. So I first fell in love with American film. So it was really interesting, sort of through people telling me movies, retelling movies, because I didn't actually have access to watch them. So it was sort of this oral history of movies. So a lot of the famous movies, I'd already sort of heard retold versions of them that weren't all that accurate, And then all of a sudden, we started to get this like American films really late at night shown on this mystery renegade channel that we didn't know where it was coming from. It was just some sort of local station that was operating, illegally. And they would show pirated American films. And it was really magical. The first film that we saw that way was Ghost, which is already a magical film.
Exactly.
And on top of it, to see it as a kid when you're not really exposed to Hollywood films, and to see it in this kind of weird way on this channel that is like, where is this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
It felt very, it was just an interesting adventure all on its own. And we just really, my mom and I really fell in love with American films because they were so hopeful. Our lives were not hopeful, so we needed escape, and we needed something that gave us hope, and gave us mental escape, basically. Sure. My mom kept saving money, and finally, a couple of years later, she was able to get like a VCR, because people started to get VCRs, and that's when we would just play some movies on repeat all day, basically.
Growing up gay is hard, no matter where you are. But can you talk about the specific challenges of growing up gay and being in an environment like Russia?
Yeah, growing up gay in Vladivostok and far east of Russia at the time, for me, it was extremely scary. There was no information available anywhere about what that even is, being gay, except really horrible, hateful things that people would say that made it sound like gay people really weren't even human. They were just like this scary creatures that, kind of infiltrate society, and you have to find them and kill them and, hate them. And so it's very dehumanizing and very sort of psychologically, it's hard, especially on a child when you don't have any other information about who you are, and then you realize this is who you are, and there's nobody to go to, there's nobody to talk to. I didn't talk to my mom even because I didn't know. I know that she wouldn't be hateful to me, but I thought she would just be so upset and sad and think that my life is over, basically, and be too worried for me. So it was extremely scary, and it made me feel like I'm really not part of a human race. It's just hard to explain to people, I feel like, in the States, because there's at least some media that, even in the 90s, there was some media representations that people could look at. But for me, there was nothing. And I literally thought I was the only gay person. now as an adult, I'm like, of course I wasn't the only gay person, and I can even think of certain people in my life back then. I was like, oh, they were probably gay too, but back then it was just not was not part of my reality at all. So
Sure.
coming to the States, when I first came in the States, it was late 90s. And things like, in Seattle, high schools had this little, like some teachers would have the sign, sort of safe space. I
Mhm.
don't remember exactly what they said, but it was something along the lines of like, we don't discriminate against gay kids, or gay kids are safe here. And it was just, I mean, for me, it was just mind blowing. It was like, I don't even, I can't even describe the feeling of seeing that and realizing it's like, first of all, I'm not the only one. Secondly, not all people hate gay people. And there's a community out there. It was just completely mind blowing.
Hersh, I mean, what was it like being on the set for your first feature? Was it what you thought it was going to be like? Was it harder, easier? What was that experience like?
I mean, it was everything and more. I think originally when I went in, I was very intimidated because it was like this whole new world that I hadn't explored before, and I was scared by everything happening. But the producers and Wes and everyone just made such an incredible environment. We were choreographing the Broadway musicals backstage, and we were just joking around all the time and improvising, and it was just such a fun experience on set. And I still stay in contact with most of the people that I worked with, which is really nice.
Wes, kudos on a terrific cast, but I mean, of course, I have
Thank
to
you.
ask you, about Leah Delaria. Can you talk about getting Leah and why you thought Leah was perfect for the role of Lena?
Yeah, I mean, for some reason, when I started writing the film, I always have to sort of imagine a real person, a real actor when I write. And I imagined Leah in my, in the perfect world. I thought she would be amazing. But we had no way of knowing that, she'd say yes. So it was just a really exciting development when we pitched it to her agents, and
Mhm.
she said yes. But yeah, there's something energetically about my grandma. I don't know if my grandma, maybe was secretly gay or bi or what her deal was, but there was something, there were sort of butch elements to how she carried herself. And that was one of the reasons. I also really love the idea of sort of, having this amazing actor like Leah, who doesn't get to do, I think, the variety of roles that she's very capable of doing. To see her in sort of this unexpected role, because I don't think anybody has seen her as a Russian grandma
Exactly.
before.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's always exciting for me to see, and an actor that everybody knows in a certain sort of iconic archetype, and then see them in a different way, but still carrying elements of that, their personality into it, which she did.
And can you talk about Jonathan Bennett as the Jesus figure?
Yeah, Jonathan was wonderful. We got him. He was the last one to come on board. He was really lovely on set. One of the things that I really appreciated, that there's such an important sort of chemistry between him and Hersh that they created. I feel like as soon as he got on set, they just became best friends. They were just having fun, and they really build up this this chemistry for the shoot really quickly. And so I feel like it shows in the scenes that they're best friends. They have this ease um, in the way that they interact with each other, and just the humor, sort of the mutual humor. And yeah, he was fun. I mean, that was another thing of like, how interesting to see him in this role, because the last person that you would imagine being Jesus, but he's funny as Jesus. He's really funny.
Exactly. Yeah. Hirsch, can you talk about working with both Leah and Jonathan?
Yeah, of course. So, Leah was amazing. She would just give me like constant tips on acting and the craft, because I was so new to it,
Mhm.
and she was so helpful. She would be like, "And here's what you have to ask the director. You ask for the lens. You ask if we're in a wide, a close up, whatever." And so she was super helpful. She gave me some incredible advice, and she's also just so funny. And we had this tin of cookies that was probably expired by 20 years or something, but they were just on set as like a filler. And she would just keep referencing the cookies in the middle of the scene, and it was so much fun. Um, and then for Jonathan, as soon as he got on set, we pretty much spent like 2 hours just like talking about musicals and which ones were our favorites and what songs we loved. Uh, and so I feel like he was just so amazing. And they both, I think, were just so incredible to work with and so much fun. And I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to work with them. Yeah.
Well, can you talk a little bit? I mean, I love the visual style of him. Can you talk about your decision in how you portrayed Russia versus later how you portrayed Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, I knew really early on that it's, the Russia that I grew up in. I mean, first of all, it doesn't exist. Secondly, I would never go back to Russia in the first place. But even if I did, that 80s Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore. So I really wanted to embrace the fact that it's a child's memory. It's sort of an artificial memory world, and it's whimsical and it's heightened in a way that I think things that as children we experience things that are in a way that's more heightened and bigger than life. And there's this big tradition, I think, of magical realism when it comes to coming of age stories, especially in literature. So sorry. So I really wanted to sort of harken back to that, and had an amazing production designer, Kristen Bonnelly, who luckily she was, she grew up in like a missionary family, and she was in Russia with her family at the same time that I lived there. So she lived in Russia. She knew what Russian apartments look like. She knew all the colors and designs and things. So we sort of had common vocabulary. Like she really got what needed to be created.
Okay.
And something that we early on wanted to do as well is sort of reference, because there's a lot of Christian things sort of referenced throughout the film. I wanted to reference this biblical paintings by Caravaggio, for example, and a lot of Baroque paintings that have, things sort of dissolve into darkness or emerge from the darkness, which was really important for us. So that was the Russia world, and the goal was to make it feel sort of claustrophobic and very heightened, like I said, because it's through the eyes of Little Potato.
Sure.
And then in America, we opened things up. We started shooting on locations. You can actually see real exteriors, not fake exteriors on the soundstage. So it should feel, I wanted to convey that sense of freedom and possibility and openness and color and light that we felt when we came to the States.
Okay. Are there any plans to show this film in Russia?
Yeah, I think we're going to St. Petersburg. Nice. I forget what month they're screening, but yeah.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
This is a big year for you because we're also showing another film you're involved with, Yes, I Am, the Rick Whelan story. Can you talk a little bit about that production as well, and then that film?
Yeah. So Rick Whelan's Yes, I Am doc. That's my amazing friend Aaron Bear. He directed that. I came on board a few years ago to sort of help as in a producing capacity. It's a really important film. I'm so proud of that film because Rick Whelan is somebody who impacted all of us. Like gay people's lives would not be the same today without him.
Sure.
It makes you realize how much difference one person can make, because when you start looking at how much money he gave to all of the gay rights organizations, basically almost all of them,
exactly.
from like, more sort of activist on the ground groups like ACT UP to actual medical HIV research to, GLAAD and GLISTEN and all of those groups. It's like if you just took out, Rick Whelan from the equation, things would be very, very different. And so it's sort of, it's an important story because people really don't know who he is. He's sort of the unsung hero of our community. people don't realize how much difference he's made. And I hope, you know, my takeaway from the film and why I find it inspiring is, like I said, this idea is like, how much difference can one person make? And he made so much difference. It's just staggering how much, you know, things wouldn't be the same if he wasn't part of our movement. And also changing, you know, not just with money, but also being a really powerful figure in the corporate world and being co-founder of Microsoft. The fact that he really championed a lot of this things that we take for granted now, like non-discrimination things, but back, you know, when he started, they were kind of radical. You know, this protections for LGBT people, they were new, and he used his, you know, his access and, you know, to this, you know, sort of corporate community to really promote reforms in the corporate world that, again, like we take for granted now. It's
exactly.
So he's a fascinating person, and I'm so proud of Aaron for bringing his story to. It's a beautiful film.
Exactly. So tell me about the future of Potato Dreams of America. I mean, Dark Star has the film, and what are their plans with it?
Yeah, so the plans are we're going to release it in theaters early next year. We don't know exactly when, but it's going to be a limited theatrical release, and then followed by, you know, Blu-ray, DVD release, and streaming. So I'm really excited about that. You know, theatrical is not something that it's something that you can't take for granted anymore as a filmmaker. And in fact, it's my first film that's gonna get like a, you know, theatrical release outside of festivals. So I'm really thrilled.
Congratulations. The
Thank
film
you.
is Potato Dreams of America, and again, it's one of our favorites. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Hersh, for talking to us today, and thank you for making this film. Thank you all out there for watching. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Jam.
Thank you.